The scrutiny on the last Men's World Cup in Qatar 2022 convinced FIFA to embed human rights into the bid process. Now, all nations hoping to host a FIFA World Cup are required to identify human rights risks and mitigate against them. The Australian and New Zealand Human Rights Commissions identified 57 risks associated with the 2023 World Cup. More than 20 were Tier 1 or urgent. They include
gender and sex discrimination through lack of pay parity,
sexual harassment and/or abuse of workers,
labour exploitation,
racial abuse and harassment,
exclusion and marginalisation of Indigenous peoples.
FIFA now has a matrix rating the risks and ensuring they will be monitored. No, not that kind, this kind. And this is what drove such a decision.
The winner to organise the 2022 FIFA World Cup is Qatar.
In this history-making moment for Qatar, the faces in the room at FIFA HQ say everything. How could such a tiny nation host a FIFA World Cup? What about the heat? What about their human rights record? For 12 years, it's pretty much all the West focused on, prompting the Socceroos to release a video statement ahead of the tournament.
We have learned that the decision to host the World Cup in Qatar has resulted in the suffering and in the harm of countless of our fellow workers.
After more than a decade of criticism, Doha decided to remind Australia of its own human rights record.
The Australian government has been criticised for forcefully moving asylum seekers and refugees to offshore camps in the countries of Papua New Guinea and Nauru, where actions of inhumane treatment have been reported by Human Rights Watch organisations.
Former Socceroo and human rights advocate Craig Foster refused on principle to go to the tournament. The international criticism forced change. The test is whether they continue.
One of the most beautiful things about it is that will highlight now our own human rights abuses and give us an opportunity to talk about our own claims to being a human rights respecting country.
So how is the matrix looking? Through the prism of First Nations alone, there's still much to be done. Indigenous Australians are the world's most overrepresented prison population. That's before we even get to refugee policies and other human rights issues. For Qatar, one of the legacies of hosting the FIFA Men's World Cup was a positive change to workers' rights, proving sport can be a catalyst for change. So, what will change in Australia? What will be our human rights legacy once the final whistle blows?